pong binanggit ang session days. Wala pong binanggit na pwedeng mag-hearing ang impeachment, ang Committee on Justice habang naka-adjourn ang both houses.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, for purposes of our records, I am reading from the House Resolution number 892, the title of which, Resolution Authorizing the House Committee on Justice to implement Section 8 of the Rules of Procedure in impeachment proceedings relating to the protection of complainants and witnesses, and further authorizing the committee to continue the conduct of impeachment proceedings and the exercise of ancillary powers during the recess of the House of Representatives from 21 March 2026 to 3 May 2026. It is respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, that all the proceedings before the Justice Committee is within the ambit expressly provided by the House of Representatives in Resolution number 892.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, just to further assure the Honorable Marcoleta that everything was done in accordance with our rules and with due process, we did not adjourn sine die. We are still on our first regular session. That is why the plenary can authorize the committee to conduct their hearings if necessary. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker. Representative Marcoleta, please
again,
wrap
I
up.
still
Your
don't have-
3 minutes is up.
I'm still not furnished a copy.
Please wrap up. Your 3 minutes is up.
Let me go to my next question. Madam Sponsor, when this case is elevated to the Senate,
Mr. Speaker,
is the House asking the Senate to try the verified complaints as filed or the broader record developed by the committee during the hearings?
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, based on our rules and based on the Constitution, it is not the impeachment complaint, but instead the articles of impeachment that was approved by the Justice Committee, which, upon approval of the House of Representatives, will be transmitted to the Senate. Consequently, Mr. Speaker, the basis of the trial is not the impeachment complaint, but the articles of impeachment.
Which brings me to the follow-up question. Madam Sponsor, can you confirm for the record whether every factual allegation in the articles of impeachment appears in the verified complaints or in their attachment, and not merely in testimony or documents later introduced during the committee hearings?
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, we confirm that the contents of the articles of impeachment are consistent to the contents of the impeachment complaints which were deliberated upon before the Justice Committee. We have to consider as well that under the rules, notwithstanding the fact that the evidence is not attached to the complaint, so long as it is relevant to the impeachment complaint, the same is allowed by the rules of impeachment.
Representative Marcoleta,
Alam
your
ko po
time
kasi-
is up. Your 3 minutes is up.
Evidence may support a pleaded charge, but should not become a substitute for a verified charge. And let me go to my
Your time is up.
final question,
Representative Marcoleta.
Mr.
Last
Speaker.
question. I'll allow you last question.
Madam Sponsor, did the committee ever formally require amendment of or authorize supplementation of the verified complaints to include factual matters that emerged only during the hearings?
Mr. Speaker, we are consistent to the contents of the impeachment complaint. And if the honorable gentleman is requiring the Justice Committee to make it as a parameter that they should all be expressed in the impeachment complaint, then he is not aligned to the rules of impeachment. The rules of impeachment expressly allow even other relevant evidence, which means, notwithstanding that they are not expressly mentioned in the impeachment complaint, so long as they are relevant, they can effectively form part of the articles of impeachment.
Majority Leader.
Thank you to the Honorable Marcoleta. Next on the list, Mr. Speaker, Please recognize Representative Robert Nazal for
Majority
his...
Leader,
Representative Robert Nasal,
can I
of
just make
party list,
a closing statement?
BH is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, may I request the Honorable Marcoleta that he will have enough time for more manifestations, including his explanation of vote afterward.
Thank you very
Yes.
much, Mr.
Thank you.
Speaker.
Representative Robert Nasal, party list, BH is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Sponsor, I just have a few questions. Do you confirm that the supplemental affidavit of Ramil Madriaga was not attached to the original complaint?
We confirm that, Mr. Speaker. Nonetheless, considering that the contents of the supplemental affidavit is germane, relevant to the allegations in the impeachment complaint, and even including his original affidavit, the rules of impeachment expressly allow the Justice Committee to include the same in our consideration.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor. Do you also confirm that the sal ends of the Vice President were not attached to the original complaints?
We confirm that, Mr. Speaker. But like my explanation earlier, the rule expressly allows other related evidence that is sanctioned by Section 7, Paragraph 2 of the Rules of Impeachment, which says, the committee shall have the power to issue compulsory processes for the attendance of witnesses and the production of documents and other related evidence. It is the submission of this representation, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, that in the allegations of unexplained wealth, non-disclosure in the SALN, notwithstanding that they are not attached in the impeachment complaint, they are very much relevant to the allegations of the offense.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor. Do you also confirm that the AMLC reports were not attached to the original complaint?
We confirm that, Mr. Speaker, but similarly, the AMLAC report is germane, the AMLAC report is relevant, the AMLAC report is significant in as far as allegations of unexplained wealth and non-disclosure in the SALN is concerned. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, during the proceeding before the Justice Committee, the contradictory, the disparity between the SALN vis-a-vis the AMLAC report was very well established.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor.
Daddy, gusto ko
Mr.
ng
Speaker,
J.
Madam Sponsor, may I ask if the respondent Vice President was furnished with a copy of this particular report that discussed the 2 billion glitch reported by BPI?
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, we understand that all the documents submitted to committee were furnished not only to the parties, the complainant and the Vice President, but also the justice members and the members of the House of Representatives. Having said so, it is submitted that it is our humble submission that the same is included among the documents transmitted to the respondent Vice President.
So nabigyan po natin sila, Madam Sponsor.
Because the instruction, Mr. Speaker, is to transmit all documents which form part of the proceeding of the Justice Committee, then it follows that all documents presented, if they are presented before the Justice Committee, were transmitted as well to the respondent.
Mr. Speaker, I respectfully manifest that these questions are not meant to prejudge the impeachment case or obstruct the constitutional power of this House. Ang layunin lang po ay malinaw na mailagay sa record ang isang mahalagang due process concern. Dapat ang impeachment complaints ay sapat sa kanilang sariling allegations at supporting documents at the time of filing. Kung ang material evidence tulad ng AMLC reports, corrected bank data, witness affidavits, COA records, at authenticated videos ay nakuha lamang during the committee proceedings, kailangan malinaw kung ang complaints ba ay sapat na noong inihain o nabuo lamang ang kaso pagkatapos. For this reason, before the House votes, may we respectfully request that the record clearly show which evidence was attached at filing and which evidence was obtained later. Ito ay mahalaga hindi lamang para sa respondent, kundi para sa integridad ng House at ng impeachment process. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, please recognize the statesman from Davao City, the Honorable Representative Isidro T. Ungap.
Honorable Isidro Ungap, 3rd District, Davao City, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, before I will ask my question, I would like to ask how many minutes am I allowed to ask for this interpellation?
You're given 3 minutes.
3 minutes only. I understand that's only supposed for the explanation vote, but considering that it's only the time limited or given, so I will just go direct. I have a lot of questions supposedly. Will the sponsor, Madam Sponsor, may I continue?
I will be pleased to respond to the honorable gentleman.
Will the sponsor confirm that no leave was sought and no order was issued allowing either complainant to amend or supplement the consolidated complaint after March 16, 2026?
May we be clarified, Mr. Speaker? Which complaint does the gentleman refer to?
The two complaints, Your Honor, I am supposed to ask questions. There is no House rule and no Supreme Court precedent that allows silent amendment by post-answer evidence. If no leave was sought and no order was issued, then every post-answer factual addition is by definition outside the operative pleading.
Mr. Speaker, if the gentleman is referring to the two impeachment complaints, the third impeachment complaint, that is Abalia et al., and the fourth impeachment complaint, that is Cabrera, the Justice Committee did not amend any of those complaints. What the Justice Committee did is to conduct a clarificatory hearing for the purpose of the determination of the existence of probable cause. And it is for the same reason that the Justice Committee exercised its compulsory power, such as the issuance of subpoena ad testificandum and subpoena duces tecum. There is no amendment that happened, Mr. Speaker. Other relevant documents were considered, but the same is for the purpose of responding to the mandate of the determination of whether probable cause exists or otherwise.
If the new evidence merely supports existing allegations, will the sponsor identify the existing allegations in a Zabalia or Cabrera complaint that placed the respondent on notice of A, 1, 313 personal CTRs, second, 1.83 billion in personal inflows, 3, the Madriaga supplemental claim of Malacanang armed assault, 4, the names of Kalilong, Lotok, and Anglubin. Are these present in the original verified complaint?
Mr. Speaker, both the Sabalian complaint and the Cabrera complaint mentioned about unexplained wealth and non-disclosure in the SALN. And again, inviting the attention of the members of the House to the test of relevance, test of significance, even if the attachments or the evidence is not attached to the impeachment complaint at the onset, so long as it is relevant, so long as it is germane, so long as it is connected. The rules of impeachment expressly allow the Justice Committee to include the same in the consideration of evidence for the purpose of the determination of probable cause.
I actually disagree, but let me continue, Your Honor. Will the sponsor confirm that the Madriaga supplemental affidavit, dated April 11, Annex W of the articles, was executed 26 days after the filing of the respondent's answer?
Nonetheless, Mr. Speaker, following the test of relevance, Mr. Madriaga is alleging the delivery of the confidential fund to the identified locations in his supplemental affidavit. This statement, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, is of course relevant to the allegation of misuse of confidential fund, and therefore, this should be considered in the determination of probable cause as the same is expressly allowed under paragraph 2, section 7 of the rules of impeachment.
Mr. Speaker, the supplemental affidavit is annexed to the very articles to be transmitted. It is footnoted at footnote 84 of the Article 4 as the evidentiary anchor for assassination, civil obedience, and armed assault at Malacanang. Palas to ensure respondents' assumption of power before 2028. The language does not appear in either the Sabalia or Cabrera complaint. The dates are uncontroverted on the face of the articles themselves. Your Honor, March 16, yung ating respondent ay nag-reply na.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, the question being raised by the honorable gentleman is the same question that has been raised for 3 times already. Notwithstanding that the supplemental affidavit was not yet existing prior to the filing of the impeachment complaint, Section 7, Paragraph 2 allow the consideration of the same, considering that the supplemental affidavit is relevant to the allegations of offenses. If I may add, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, let us be reminded that the threshold that was given to the Justice Committee for the purpose of the determination of probable cause is very minimal, and that is probable cause. When we say probable cause, the Supreme Court pronounced and described the same in the past impeachment processes as merely reasonable justification for us to be able to proceed to trial. With that, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, we submit that all the evidences not present during the filing, but present during the proceeding are relevant evidence and therefore must be considered as well by the Justice Committee.
My time is expired, but one last comment,
Okay.
Mr. Speaker. The consolidated articles of impeachment, which is supposedly a product of the 2 verified complaints, has been expanded and has included new evidence, and it is only fair and fitting that the respondent should be asked to reply first before that is being brought here in this plenary. That is my point, Mr. Speaker. Where's due process here? If the respondent was not allowed to answer the consolidated articles of impeachment.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, as to the question which is being repeatedly raised by the honorable gentleman, let me manifest our position for the last time. Regardless of the fact that the evidence are not yet attached, not yet present, not yet available during the filing of the impeachment complaint, so long as the same is relevant, Paragraph 2, Section 7 of Rules of Impeachment expressly allow the Justice Committee to include the same in the consideration for the purpose of the determination of probable cause. With regards to his second manifestation, Mr. Speaker, that the respondent Vice President was not given due process, the records will show from day 1 of the justice proceeding, we've been sending notices to the respondent Vice President. As a matter of fact, even after each resource person, for 3 consecutive clarificatory hearings, we were calling the Vice President just to make sure that we're able to cater ample due process because we are consistent to the rules of impeachment, the Constitution, and even the decisions of the Supreme Court.
May I
Representative Ungab, please
be
wrap up.
allowed just one last comment to answer? The argument stated by the lady sponsor conflates 2 doctrinally distinct constitutional requirements. First, 1, what is required? Procedural attendance, the right to be present, to file pleadings, and to participate in proceedings. And second, substantive fair notice, the right to know in advance and with specificity the factual case one is required to meet. The Constitution in Antibay Gutierrez versus House Committee on Justice, and most recently decided Vice President Sara Duterte versus House of Representatives, which was denied with finality, required, and the record will show that the committee provided the first but withheld the second. Whenever post-filing evidence introduced factual predicates absent from the 4 corners of the verified complaint. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I wish to invite the attention of the Honorable Ungab, my distinguished colleague, that the Vice President, during the determination of sufficiency in substance, upon the determination of sufficiency in substance, was indeed sent a notice for her to file her answer. Indeed, the Justice Committee received the answer. However, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, the answer raises constitutional questions, questions similar to those pending before the Honorable Supreme Court. It never responded directly to the allegations of the complaint. To complete my response, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, as I have said, in the entire proceeding of the Justice Committee, the respondent Vice President was duly notified. And after presentation of every resource person, she was being called by the committee secretary to make sure the due process will be provided to the respondent Vice President. With that, Mr. Speaker, it is our humble submission that we complied fully, amply, to the requirement of due process, be it substantive or procedural.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please recognize the gentleman from the 1st District of Batangas, the Honorable Leandro Legarda Leviste, for his
Honorable
interpellation.
Leandro Antonio Legarda Leviste, 1st District of Batangas, is hereby recognized.
Magandang
You have
hapon
3
po
minutes.
sa aking kababayan, Madam Chair. Madam, is selective justice justice or injustice?
We are not abiding with selective injustice, inasmuch as we do not abide in selective accountability. And I have mentioned that in my sponsorship speech.
So selective justice is injustice. Therefore, if we hold some to account, we should hold all to account.
That is correct.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would you support the House resuming the flood control investigations?
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, in our response to the mandate of transparency and accountability, we have to distinguish between an impeachable official and non-impeachable official.
I'm asking for your personal position on
For
this.
impeachable official, Mr. Speaker, we follow the rules of impeachment, both of the House of Representatives and of the Senate. For non-impeachable official, it will depend on the nature of investigation or case which the gentleman from the 1st District of Batangas wishes to initiate.
Let me reiterate the
Nevertheless,
question, Madam.
Mr. Speaker, there is proper forum, there is proper rules that apply to every remedy that is given to the Filipino people.
So may I ask again, Madam, would you support the House resuming the flood control investigations?
Mr. Speaker, may I be recognized?
Majority Leader.
While I understand the concern of the Honorable Leviste to pursue accountability in all matters involving Congress and the government itself, may I request that gentleman from Batangas not to stray from our deliberations involving the resolution.
So the House does not want to make a statement today on whether it wishes to resume the flood control investigations.
Mr. Speaker, we will not make any statement outside our deliberations on the impeachment complaints.
Thank
May I
you, Mr. Chair.
remind Representative Leviste to
Thank you.
confine
I will move
your
to my next topic.
interpellation and question to the resolution under consideration.
I will move to my next topic. Thank you. Do you support transparency in the use of public funds?
Definitely, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I heard that on March 18, some members of Congress got Easter break bonuses or additional MOOE of 2 million pesos or more, and those who do not support the impeachment did not get this extra MOOE. Do you know anything about this, Madam Chair, and how much MOOE have you gotten this year?
Mr. Speaker, I deny the allegation of the honorable gentleman from Batangas, but it is my observation as well that the statement is no longer relevant to the subject matter of this impeachment.
But, Madam
proceeding.
Chair, I just want to make this clear before the members of Congress cast their votes. Because there is, first of all, confirmed information that some members of Congress got 2 million pesos on March 18. But on the impeachment,
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chair, just on the impeachment,
Just
Majority
on-
Leader.
on the
Mr.
impeachment,
Speaker, the Honorable Legarda Leviste
just on the
is
impeachment, Mr.
free
Chair.
to speak his mind after the voting, so long as
Mr.
we
Chair,
stay.
just on the impeachment, Senator Amy Marcos said those who vote for the impeachment will get 20 million pesos. And I just want to make it clear if this is true or not, because if it is true, then it should be made public. And if some are getting the 20 million and others are not getting the 20 million, then it should at least be fair that everyone who votes gets 20 million, and those who do not vote hopefully should also be given that, because this is taxpayers' money and should not be allocated on the basis of your vote on the impeachment.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of all the members of the House of Representatives, I categorically deny any statement made by
This
the
is what
Senator.
Senator Amy Marcos said.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. May I request the Honorable Leviste to proceed with his interpellation
Okay.
regarding the resolution and the articles of impeachment.
I have one last topic on this, which is, for the sake of the other members of Congress, is it true or not true that those who vote against the impeachment will lose benefits for their vote? So that before we cast our votes, we will know whether doing so will result in us losing our benefits or not.
Mr. Speaker, may I be recognized once more?
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the House, we categorically deny any such allegations, and we would like to thank the Honorable Ligarda for his pursuit of accountability and
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
transparency.
I would like to
Honorable-
thank you for putting it on the
Honorable
record.
Ligarda,
That Mr.
your
Chair,
time
actually
is up.
did a
I'll
very
give
good
you
thing.
one last question.
No one should lose their benefits for their vote today. And lastly, I would like to ask if the House Committee on Accounts and the DBM can release all data on the budgetary releases for MOOE or for infrastructure or any other budgets, so that we can ascertain whether it is true or not what Senator Amy Marcos said. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there being no other member to interpellate the sponsor or make any manifestation, I move to adopt House Resolution number 989 together with the findings, conclusions, and recommendations contained in Committee Report number 261, and for this purpose, direct the Secretary General to call the roll of members for nominal voting.
The Secretary General is hereby directed to call the roll of members for nominal voting. The Chair reminds all members that the House is now in process of voting, and pursuant to the rules, the voting process shall not be interrupted at any other business or question. Members who wish to explain their vote shall be recognized after the announcement of the results and shall be allotted 3 minutes each for such purpose. Secretary General, conduct the nominal voting.
Roll of members, Abalos, Abante, Asidre, Acop, Acosta, Adyong, Advincula, Agarao, Agyao, Alano, Alba, Albano, Almario Chino Manuel, Almario Dennis, Almonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Angeles, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison Munir, Arbison Munir Jr., Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Ataide, Aumentado, Ayon, Pag-aw,
Mr. Speaker, I vote yes, and I will explain my vote after everyone has voted. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Balindong, Panyas Nograles, Pangcoro, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga,
Mr. Speaker, I vote no,
I am
and I will be explaining my vote later.
Baskug,
I am voting no, and I will explain my vote later also.
Bautista Claude, Bautista Joan Monique, Bautista Lim, Beltran, Benitez Alfredo, Benitez Javier Miguel, Bernos Ching, Bernos JB, Biron, Bocobo, Bulilia, Bondok, Briones, Bulut Bectang, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Kawagdan, Kari, Castro, Kaiton, Celeste, Sendanya,
Mr. Speaker, I vote yes, and I will explain my vote later.
Ceniza, Chan, Jan, Franz, Norbert, Joselito, Almario, Chan, Junard, Chua, Chuatay, Chungalaw, Ko Pilar, Coangco Jaime Eduardo Mark, Coangco Mark, Colliantes,
Mr. Speaker.
Speaker, I vote yes. I vote yes.
Mr. Speaker, I vote yes and I reserve the right to explain my vote later. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, tinawag na kasi pangalan ko kanina, sa labas ako. I abstain.
Colliantes, Corvera,
Mr. Speaker, my vote is no, but I would like to explain my vote later. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cruz Agatha, Cruz Ricardo, Cruzado, Kua, Dagook, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Lima,
Mr. Speaker, this representation from the Mamamayang Liberal ML party list votes yes, and will explain later. Thank you.
De Venecia, Defensor, De Gamo, Del Mar, De Los Santos,
Mr. Speaker, this representation votes no, and I'd like to explain my vote later.
De Los Santos, Di Makuha, Di Magila, Di Maporo Imelda, Di Maporo City Amina, Diokno,
Mr. Speaker, I vote yes. I will explain my vote later.
Dionisio, Domingo, Domogan, Duterte Harold James, Duterte,
Mr. Speaker, I vote yes, and I'm submitting my explanation in writing, Mr. Speaker.
Duterte Omar Vincent, Duterte Paulo, Di Faustino Michael Carlos, Di Ian Paul, Elago,
Mr. Speaker, this representation from Gabriela Women's Party votes yes, and I will explain my vote later. Thank you.
Emano, Enverga, Erice,
Mr. Speaker, I abstain from the voting and please register my previous privileged speech last Tuesday as my explanation of vote. Thank you.
Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Jeffrey, Flores, Cortez, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galang, Galeyos, Garbin, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Karen Hope.
Mr. Speaker, my vote is no, and I reserve the right to submit a written explanation of my vote. Thank you.
Garcia Maria Angela, Guardiola, Garin, Gatchalian, Gato, Clepa, Go, Gomez, Gonzales Alexandria, Gonzales Alisa Micaela, Gonzales Christopher Sheen, Gonzales Roy, Goriseta, Cuico, Gintu,
Mr. Speaker, I vote yes.
Culias, Gutierrez, Hernandez Charissa Ann, Hernandez Dennis, Hernandez Ferdinand, Hernandez Ramil, Hofer Hasim, Horibata, Ismula,
Mr. Speaker, my vote is yes and wish to explain my vote later.
Iway, Javier, Co Antonio, Co Elisa, Co Wilton, Kong Hun, Co, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lagbas, Lagdameo Jose Manuel, Lagdameo Monique Yasmin Maria, Lagman,
Mr. Speaker, my vote is yes, and I wish to explain my vote later.
Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sonny, Lara, Lasatin, Ledesma, Legacion, Legarda, Legaspi, Leviste, Libanan, Lopez, Loria, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Makasaet, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Manguda Datu, Manikis, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos,
Mr. Speaker, Sagip Party List votes no, and I reserve the right to explain my vote later after the nominal voting. Thank you.
Marquez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla,
Mr. Speaker, my vote is no.
Miraflores, Momo, Montes, Nava, Nazal, Nisay, Nolasco,
Mr. Speaker, this representation from Bagong Henerasyon Party List votes no, and I would like the chance to explain my vote later.
Nolasco, Oeminal Henry, Oeminal Sancho Fernando, Oducado, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Oreta, Ortega, Juano Dizon, Padiernos, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Perez, Pimentel, Plaza, Plato, Poe, Primicias Agabas, Kumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Remulla, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Ridon, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Yuloyo, Rodriguez Maximo, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman,
Mr. Speaker, I vote yes and I wish to explain my vote later.
Romualdez Andrew Julian, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sagar Baria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sally, Salvacion, Salvador, Salvame, San Fernando,
Mr. Speaker, this representation votes yes, but with strong reservations, and I would like to explain my vote after the nominal voting.
Santos Maria Alana Samantha. Santos Mark Anthony.
Mr. Speaker, this representation from the Lone District of Las Piñas votes yes. Thank you.
Shimura. Singson
Mr.
Richelle.
Speaker, my vote is no.
Singson Richelle. Singson Ronald. Singson Mihan. Solon. Soriano. Suwan. Swansing Bella Vanessa. Swansing Micaela Angela. Suarez. Suntay.
Mr. Speaker, I vote no and I will explain my vote.
Talyado. Tan Ayman. Tan Joseph. Tan Keith Mika. Tan Reynolds Michael. Tan Samir. Tan Stephen James. Tan Chay. Tan Watko. Tariela. Yodoro. Tereng. Teves. Tiangco. Tieng.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I vote yes and I will explain my vote later.
Tieng. Tino.
Mr. Speaker, yes ang boto ko and I will explain later.
Tolentino. Tuan. Tulfo Jocelyn. Tulfo Ralph Wendell. Tupas. Tutor.
Mr. Speaker, ang bagang tingog sa katauhan sa Tercero Distrito is no, and I'll explain my vote. Thank you.
T. Umali. Ungap.
I am voting no, and I'll explain my vote later.
Uy De Carlo. Uy Roberto. Valeriano. Vargas. Vargas Alfonso. Veloso. Veloso Tuazon.
Mr. Speaker, Malasakit at Bayanihan Party List votes no. I reserve the right to submit a written explanation later.
Vergara. Villa. Villafuerte Miguel Luis. Villafuerte Vincenzo Renato Luigi. Villanueva. Villarica. Biolago.
Mr. Speaker, the 36 of Malaysia votes no. And I reserve my explanation later.
Biolago. Yamsuan. Yap Arthur. Yap Christopherson. Yap Eric. Yap Jan Gisnel. Yatko. Inares. Yu Jazel Victoria. Yu Joseph Kim. Yulo. Zamora Maria Carmen. Zamora Isabel Maria. Zubiri.
Mr. Speaker, I respectfully abstain and I will explain my vote later.
Second call, adoption of committee report number 261. Alano. Alba. Almario Chino Miguel. Ayon. Baskug. Bautista Claude. Bautista Lim. Chan Jan Franz Norbert Joselito. Cua. De Los Santos. Garbin. Garcia Jose Arturo. Hernandez Dennis. Lacson. Macapagal Arroyo. Nisay. Oreta. Perez. Plaza. Singson Ronald. Singson Mihan. Solon. Tan Samir. Tanwatco. Uy De Carlo. Villanueva. Yap Arthur C. Yap Christopherson. Inares.
Muli po ang aking pagpapaalala sa lahat ng pagpapanatili ng kaayusan at paggalang sa proseso na ating kapulungan sa pagpapatuloy ng sesyon ng plenaryo. Sa pag-anunsyo ng resulta ng desisyon ng miyembro ng House of Representatives, mahigpit pong ipinagbabawal ang anumang pagpapakita ng pagsasang-ayon o pagtutol tulad ng pagpalakpak, pagsigaw, pagbu, pagpapakita ng mga placard o anumang kahalintulad na kilos sa loob ng bulwagan at sa galeriya. Inihiling po natin ang pakikisa ng lahat upang mapanatili ang dignidad at wastong decorum sa kapulungan at sa lahat ng oras. With 255 members voting in the affirmative, 26 against, 9 abstention, House Resolution number 989, together with the findings, conclusion, recommendations contained in Committee Report number 261 are hereby adopted. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Representative Bienvenido M. Abante Jr. of the 6th District of Manila to explain his vote.
Representative Abante, 6th District, Manila, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Majority Leader. And thank you, my dear Speaker. Psalms 11:3 says, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Today, the whole of Congress has spoken. This was the statement of one of the most powerful kings Israel ever had, King David. But first of all, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I would like first to commend the chairman of the Committee on Justice for shepherding with boldness and fairness this impeachment hearing. As we move closer to the impeachment trial, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, this is no longer just about politics. This is about conscience, duty, and the future of our nation. Uulitin ko po, this is not about 2028. This is not about political alliances. This is about whether we still believe that no one is above the law. And I believe this with all my heart, and so do many of my colleagues in this chamber. Our vote today is not a declaration of guilt. It is a declaration that when serious allegations are raised against one of the highest officials of the land, Congress cannot look away. Congress cannot remain silent. Congress must act according to the Constitution and according to conscience. An impeachment ay hindi dapat gawing laro ng politika. This is a constitutional process with consequences not just for today, but for generations to come. The Filipino people deserve a trial that is fair, impartial, and rooted in the rule of law. And now, as the responsibility shifts to the Senate, which will sit as an impeachment court, I ask our countrymen to pray for our senator judges. Pray not for one side or another to win politically, but for truth to prevail. Pray that our senator judges be guided by wisdom, fairness, and integrity. Let us pray that they be swayed by their conscience and guided by the evidence before them, rather than by political pressure from various camps. As it is written in James 5:16, and I quote, "Confess your faults one to another, and pray for one another, that ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much." End of quote. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I am fully aware that history will judge the decisions we make today. Years from now, my grandchildren will look back at this chapter in our nation's history and ask how their lolo voted when the country was confronted with different questions about truth, accountability, and justice. I want them to know that their lolo stood on the side of conscience and conviction. Mr. Speaker, I want them to be proud that I chose to do what I believe was right. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative June Asidre from Party List Tingog. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Jude Asidre, Party List Tingog, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I vote yes to the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte. I say this with a heavy heart and with full awareness of the weight of this decision. This is not a vote that I cast lightly. In truth, this is a decision I struggled with deeply. I campaigned for Vice President Sara Duterte in 2022. I supported her candidacy. I believed in her capacity to lead and to serve. That is why when the allegations first surfaced and the hearings began, I did not rush to judgment. I listened, I waited, I searched for answers. I wanted to believe there was an explanation that could satisfy the demands of truth, accountability, and public trust. But as the hearings progressed, the evidence became clearer. Testimony after testimony, document after document, fact after fact, a pattern emerged that could no longer be dismissed, explained away, or set aside. The evidence before us was not vague. It was not light. It was not something I could pretend away simply because the decision was difficult. It was substantial, serious, and overwhelming. And when the evidence becomes overwhelming, conscience leaves us with only one honest choice. After several committee hearings, after hours of testimony, after reviewing the records, documents, and deliberations, I came to a difficult but necessary conclusion. There are compelling grounds to support the impeachment complaint. Public service, Mr. Speaker, sometimes asks us to make difficult decisions. At times, it asks us to stand apart from those we once stood with. It asks us to place duty above comfort, conscience above convenience, and country above loyalty. I voted to approve the impeachment complaint because my conscience would not allow me to do otherwise. I signed it because accountability must always remain consequential to our democracy. I signed it because no public office, however high, should be beyond scrutiny. I voted to approve it because overwhelming evidence carries a moral demand. It asks us to act. Mr. Speaker, here I stand and I can do no other. This vote is not about politics. It's not about public judgment. It is about the rule of law. It is about institutional accountability. It is about the courage to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even when it means standing against someone we once supported. Today, I vote yes because I believe in the promise of public service. I still believe in the dignity of our institutions. I still believe that truth must matter, accountability must prevail, and conscience must guide those entrusted with power. For this reason, Mr. Speaker, I vote yes to the impeachment complaint.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Kaka J. Bagao of the Lone District of Dinagat Island.
Honorable Kaka Bagao, Lone District of Dinagat Island, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I vote yes to House Resolution 989, including the articles of impeachment against the Vice President. Naniniwala po ako, Mr. Speaker, na sa karapatan ng mga mamamayan na marinig ang katotohanan at ang mga ebidensya laban sa sinumang opisyal ng gobyerno. Naniniwala po ako na lahat tayo ay may karapatang humingi ng rekurso at solusyon laban sa pang-aapi, pandaraya, at pagsisinungaling ng mga opisyal. Naniniwala po ako na bawat isa sa atin, lalo na ang mga opisyal ng Kongreso, ay may obligasyong alamin at itaguyod ang saligang batas at mga demokratikong institusyon. Matagal kong pinagnilayan ang mga akusasyon at ebidensya na prinisenta sa komite ng Kongreso. Hindi ko maaaring talikuran at isantabi ang mga naganap na paglabag sa ating mga karapatan. Dapat harapin ng Vice Presidente ang mga mabibigat na aligasyon laban sa kanya. Isip Mindanaon, nga dugay na nakasinati og kagubot, kapobrihon, ug kalayo sa kaayuhan, kinahanglan karon ng atong pagbarog alang sa hustisya, kalambuan, ug ang atong katungdanan aron panalipdan ang kamatuoran. Daghang salamat, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Maria Vanessa Omentado of the 2nd District of Bohol.
Mayong hapon sa tanan.
Representative Omentado is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mayong hapon sa tanan. My vote is no, guided by my commitment to listen to the voice and sentiments of the majority of my constituents in the 2nd District of Bohol. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Sherlyn L. Banyas Nograles of the Lone District of General Santos City.
Honorable Sherlyn Banyas Nograles, Lone District, General Santos, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, my vote is no. Let me state at the outset, accountability is non-negotiable. Public office is a public trust, and every public official must remain answerable to the Filipino people. As representatives of the people, we do not speak only for ourselves in this chamber. We carry the voices, concerns, and aspiration of the people we represent. After careful consideration of the facts, arguments, the quiet call of fairness that must guide this chamber, and the sentiments of my constituents, I rise today to cast my vote in accordance with that mandate. Let me be clear. A no vote today does not diminish our duty to demand transparency, uphold accountability, and ensure that all public officials remain answerable to the Filipino people. We must be mindful of the weight of this constitutional remedy. Impeachment is not a routine instrument of political contest. It is an extraordinary measure reserved for the most compelling circumstances. To lower its threshold risks weakening the very institution it is meant to protect. We must also recognize that the office of the Vice President carries the sovereign mandate of nearly 32 million Filipinos. Any effort to remove its occupant must respect the will of the electorate, for any democracy, legitimacy is ultimately rooted in the voice of the people. Vox populi, vox Dei. But beyond the legal and institutional questions, we are confronted today with a deeper national reality. Our people are weary. They face rising prices, economic strain, and declining trust in public institutions. We must therefore ask ourselves with honesty and sobriety, what lies ahead after this moment? Will it ease the burdens of our citizens or deepen the divisions we already carry? Will it bring us closer to solution or further away from the urgent needs of our nation? Beyond these halls, our citizens continue to struggle with the rising cost of food, fuel, and basic commodities. They seek not prolonged political conflict, but relief, stability, and responsive governance. Perhaps then this is a moment that calls us not only to decide, but to reflect, not only to proceed, but to reset. Though it may seem impossible at this point, but in the inner recesses of my heart, I remain deeply hopeful. A reset in our politics so that it may return to its rightful purpose. A reset in our priorities so that the burden of our people stand at the center of our deliberations. A reset in our tone so that disagreement does not become division and difference does not become rupture. We are one nation before anything else, and the strength of that nation lies in not in the uniformity of our views, but in our capacity to rise above them when the circumstances of our people demand unity over fracture. In the end, the measure of this House will not be found in the intensity of our disagreements, but in whether in moments of national strain, we chose the path that preserved cohesion, strengthened institution, and gave people space to hope again. Finally, what our nation needs today is calm, not conflict, unity, not division. In time of economic strain and institutional challenges, our duty is to steady the course of government and remain firmly focused on delivering meaningful solutions for our people. It is in the spirit that I am reminded of the guiding wisdom of the Supreme Court. There is a right way to do the right thing at the right time. That is inherent in the rule of law, that is inherent in the rule of justice. For these reasons, with full respect for differing views of my colleagues, I cast my vote no to the articles of impeachment. Maraming salamat.
Before we proceed, I'd like to greet the guest of our Deputy Minority Leader, Sergio Dagook, from Siargao Electric Cooperatives, Jeffrey Consigna, Josie Peher, Joel Magdula, Dinagat Island Electric Cooperatives, Romeo Dagook, Charlito Antigro Jr. Flores Tinambakan. Welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Percy Sandania of Party List Akbayan to explain his vote.
Honorable Percy Sandania, Akbayan Party List is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, initiating an impeachment case is not part of our ordinary work. Not every Congress we hold a high official accountable. Not every Congress we conduct hearings to determine probable cause. Not every Congress we write articles of impeachment. But this Congress, we answer the call of our people in our Constitution. And while we are doing the task, we are called names. Maleta, Crocs, Baklang Ngiwi. Our integrity was questioned. Paldo na naman, marami daw nag-withdraw ng boto, Congress na bahag ang buntot. We are subjected to mockery and legal harassment. Ginawa tayong memes that were AI generated, all in the name of doing our sacred constitutional duty. Pero bukas tayo sa mga pang-uusig, bukas tayo sa mga pangungutya, bukas tayo sa mga katulad nating inip na sa katotohanan. At habang nandito tayo sa Kongreso, nasaan si Inday Sara? Naka-travel leave. Naglalakwatsa sa Netherlands, Korea, Belgium, Germany at UK. Sa ilang araw ng pagdinig natin ng impeachment sa komite, ni hindi man lang siya ayos sinipot. She did not even give an ounce of respect to this eminent constitutional process. Betrayal of public trust, culpable violation of the Constitution, bribery, graft and corruption, and other high crimes. These grounds are no joke, no joke. We don't deserve VP no-show. As we vote yes this historical afternoon, we are reminding the Filipino people what a public official should be. When asked, bakit natin ito ginagawa? We answer because we are raising the standard of public office. Sinasabi natin hindi ganito ang gusto nating leader. Ayaw natin sa leader na bilyonarya pala, pero hindi nagdedeklara. Ayaw natin sa leader na nagbabanta ng pagpatay sa harap ng media. Ayaw natin sa leader na kumukubra at naglalabada ng pera mula sa droga. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, 69% ng mga Pilipino ang gustong harapin ni Sara Duterte ang lahat ng aligasyon laban sa kanya. The numbers do not lie. The majority of Filipinos want to start the impeachment trial and they want to start it forthwith. Who are we to stand in their way? Hindi tayo dapat matinag sa nangyaring Senate coup. Hindi tayo magpapasindak sa mga bababatas sa supporter ni VP Sara na bigla na lang magpapakita at magtatantrum sa plenary. Pare-pareho silang managot. Simula na ang paglilitis. Convict Sara now. Akbayan votes? Yes.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the Honorable Representative Francisco Kiko Barzaga from the 4th District of Cavite.
Honorable Kiko Barzaga is here, 4th District of Cavite is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the youngest representative of the Philippine House of Representatives present here today, I speak on behalf of my hopes for a bright future for our nation that is free from corruption and against the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte, the only 2028 presidential candidate who is capable of creating that future. Sara Duterte is our nation's most vocal anti-corruption figure, as she's the first one to reveal the massive flood control corruption in the 2025 budget and the involvement of former Speaker Martin Romualdez and Appropriations Chairman Zaldico. VP Duterte is also an admired and respected public figure all throughout our country, which is reflected in the survey results which consistently place her as our #1 presidential candidate for 2028. Yet instead of congratulating her for these achievements, you instead seek to remove her, as you believe that her presidential ambitions will interfere with the traditional political practices that our nation has grown accustomed to. Vice President Sara Duterte is the hope of our nation. She's an accomplished lawyer who deeply cares for our people, as I have personally witnessed when I visited her in Davao City. I will not waste our nation's future, which is why my vote is no. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the Honorable Rene Luis M. Co from the Party List Kabataan.
Honorable Rene Luis Co, Party List Kabataan is hereby recognized.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, at sa lahat ng ating kababayang nanonood, tumitindig ang representasyong ito sa botong yes. Dahil naniniwala tayo na dapat nang litisin si Vice President Sara Duterte sa lalong madaling panahon sa ngalan ng hustisya para sa taong bayang ninakawan at pinagtaksilan. Umupo tayo ng 8 hearings nitong nagdaang 2 buwan at binaybay ang mga aligasyon laban sa Vice-Presidente. Kalakip ng mga ito ay mga ebidensya na naghuhumiyaw, na umiiral ang korupsyon sa ilalim ng kanyang panunungkulan. At mula roon, naging mas malinaw ang mga sigaw para sa tuluyang pagpapanagot. Mr. Speaker, sa bawat kategorya ng mga aligasyong pwedeng mabanggit, meron pong ebidensyang naipakita ang House Committee on Justice laban kay VP Sara. May mga saksi tayong nagulat na sinabing utos ni VP Sara na magbigay ng peking ulat sa COA para sa maling paggamit ng confidential funds. May official report tayong hawak na bilyones ang dumaloy sa mga bangko ni VP Sara at kanyang asawa na hindi naman nakaulat sa kanilang salin. Sa parehong salin niya makikita na may mga taon na wala daw silang perang deposito sa bangko. Nakita din natin ang mga video na totoo at beripikado, hindi po AI, na sinasabi niyang nangontrata siya ng tao na papatay sa kanyang mga karibal sa politika. At sa bawat oportunidad na hiniling natin kay VP Sara na ibigay ang kanyang panig, hindi siya nagpakita ni isang beses. Mr. Speaker, sigurado ako, marami sa mga nanonood, may mga kakilalang may mga kinaharap na kaso o kaya ay nakakulong. Bilang karaniwang mamamayan, batid natin ang bigat ng sistemang dapat magbigay ng hustisya para sa lahat. Pero sa kasalukuyan, may mga taong dekada nang nakakulong para sa mga mas magagaan na krimen. Pero dahil mahirap, walang abogado at nabubulok sa piitan. May mga nakagawa ng mga mas malalang krimen, pero walang pananagutan dahil sa limpak-limpak na perang hawak o kaya naman dahil sa mahigpit na kapit nila sa kapangyarihan. Yung mahirap na nagnakaw ng delata, kulong agad. Pero yung mataas na opisyal na nagnakaw ng milyon-milyon sa kabangyaman, nakakalusot? Hindi po pwede ng ganon, Mr. Speaker. This is about justice, yes. But more importantly, kaming kabataan, tayo, ginagawa natin to para hindi na maulit to. Para sa isang kinabukasang hindi na muling gagamitin ang pera ng bayan para sa makitid na pansariling interes ng ilan. Tanong ng iba, makakain ba ang impeachment, Mr. Speaker? Ang sagot natin dyan ay kung matagumpay na mapanagot natin ang mga magnanakaw at maibalik ang ninakaw na pera sa taong bayan, mabibigyan ng nararapat na serbisyo at suporta ang mga kababayang nagugutom. Kaya hindi kami papayag na ang kasaysayan ng ating henerasyon ay tatatakan na lang ng pangalan ng isang nagtaksil sa bayan na piniling magtago sa likod ng poder sa halip na harapin ang mga tanong sa kanyang pamumuno. Mr. Speaker, as a final word, this representation is convinced bilang tunay at natatanging kinatawan ng kabataan sa Kongreso to stand with the youth. We stand on the side of justice. Wala pagdadalawang isip sa pagpapanagot sa mga kurakot sa gobyerno, lalo na nasa gitna tayo ng krisis. Bumuboto ng yes ang representasyong ito para pagpapatuloy ng impeachment proceedings sa Senado. Maraming salamat, Speaker. And maybe a point of information to the previous manifester, Mr. Speaker, Representative Kiko Barzaga is not the youngest congressman in the House of Representatives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Noted. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the Honorable Dale B. Corvera from the Lone District of Agusan del Norte.
Honorable Dale Corvera, Lone District, Agusan del Norte, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, Mr. Speaker, after my consultation with our constituents in Agusan del Norte, napag-alaman ko po na overwhelmingly they are not in favor of the impeachment against the Vice President. And being their representative, I have to listen to them. Kaya ang pagboto ko ng no ay dala ko ang boses ng taga Agusan del Norte. In fact, it is an expression of the will of the people of my province. Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, would like to recognize Representative Laila M. De Lima of Party List ML to explain her vote.
Honorable Laila De Lima, Party List Minority Leader, is hereby recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, isang mariing oo ang akin pong boto upang pagtibayan ng resolution at articles of impeachment na isinumite ng Committee on Justice. The committee received voluminous documentary evidence, heard testimonies, examined audit findings, reviewed certifications from government agencies, and evaluated sworn statements and financial records. And after all these proceedings, the committee found probable cause and approved the articles of impeachment. Mr. Speaker, mga kasama, malinaw nakita natin sa mga pagdinig. We saw evidence of misuse and abuse of confidential funds amounting to hundreds of millions of pesos. We heard testimony regarding questionable disbursements, fictitious identities, and liquidation documents with indications of falsehood and falsification. We examined evidence of unexplained wealth and billions in suspicious and covered transactions that are manifestly disproportionate to declared and known lawful income. And we confronted deeply disturbing threats and inflammatory rhetoric that target not only ranking public officials but attack the very heart of our constitutional order. Taken together, hindi po ito mga mababaw na paratang lamang. Hindi po ito mga isolated or random incidents lamang. These are patterns of bad behavior. These are habits of abuse of power. These are matters that go into the integrity, accountability, and fitness of a public official occupying the second highest position in our government. Mr. Speaker, let us also be clear. Impeachment is not political persecution. It is not a partisan activity. It is a constitutional accountability mechanism. Mawawalan ng saysayang mandato at diwa ng pananagutan na nasa konstitusyon kung matapos makita ang ebidensya at magpasya sa komite na may sapat at makatwirang dahilan upang umusad ang proseso ay basta-basta na lang ihinto sa kapulungang ito ang gulong ng hustisya at pananagutan. The constitutional process of accountability could not move forward if we shirked our duties in this House, if we dropped the ball in this plenary. Kaya naman po, bilang endorser ng Sabalya et al. Complaint at bilang aktibong lumahok sa mga committee proceedings, I vote yes to affirm the favorable resolution of the committee setting forth the articles of impeachment. Oo, dahil sa prinsipyo at sa ating obligasyon na nakasaad sa konstitusyon. Oo, dahil ang mga ebidensyang iniharap ay nararapat masuri sa isang ganap na paglilitis. Oo, dahil walang sino man, gaano mang kataas ang katungkulan, ang dapat mangibabaw sa batas. Walang sino man ang dapat makatakas sa pananagutan. At higit sa lahat, oo, dahil karapatan ng bawat Pilipino na malaman ang buong katotohanan ukol sa mga seryosong aligasyon at mabibigat na ebidensya laban sa pangalawang Pangulo. Given these compelling reasons, and for the sake of truth, under the banner of justice and accountability, dapat lang litisin na si VP Sara Duterte sa Senado. Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we'd like to recognize Representative Rachel Marguerite B. Delmar from the 1st District of Cebu City to explain her vote.
Honorable Rachel Marguerite Cutie Delmar, 1st District Cebu, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The will of my constituents is clear. For the city of Cebu, 1st District, during the 19th Congress, it was a no. And for the 20th Congress, it still remains a no. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we'd like to recognize Representative Jose Manuel Tadeo Chel Jokno from the party list Akbayan to explain his vote.
Honorable Jose Manuel Tadeo Chel Jokno, Akbayan Party List, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I vote a resounding yes. Andiyan na po, nakita natin lahat ang smoking guns, ang bilyon-bilyones na perang dumaan sa accounts ni Vice President Sara Duterte sa kabila ng milyones lang na dineklara sa kanyang salin. Ang halos kalahating bilyong piso na confidential funds na winaldas niya at marami pang iba. I could go on and on, Mr. Speaker. Ngayon, panahon na panagutin ang nagkasala. Ito ay para sa ating mga manggagawa na araw-araw kumakayod para may pantustos sa kanilang mga pamilya, mga kabataang naghahangad ng mas maayos at tapat na pamahalaan. At para sa lahat ng Pilipino na pagod na sa katiwalian. The House is ready to prosecute. Mr. Speaker, Your Honors. Vice President Sara, see you in the impeachment court.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Sara Jane I. Ilago from Party List Gabriela Women's Party to explain her.
Honorable Sarah Jane Ilago, Gabriela Women's Party List is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, buo ang suporta ng Gabriela Women's Party sa impeachment laban sa Vice Presidente. Sa panahon na may kinakaharap na krisis sa langis at pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin, kawalan ng disenteng trabaho na may maayos na pasahod, kabi-kabila na demolisyon, paglaganap ng disinformation at pagtindi ng korupsyon, ito ang pinakatamang oras para maningil at may mapanagot na mataas na opisyal sa kanyang paglabag sa konstitusyon, betrayal of public trust, graft and corruption at iba pang mga krimen. At karugtong ng mga problema ng lipunan ang mga dahilan kung bakit yes ang boto ng Gabriela Women's Party sa impeachment ni VP Sara without age or without holding back from spending o pagwawaldas niya ng hindi bababa sa 500 million pesos na confidential funds ng OVP at DepEd. Sa laki ng halaga na ito, higit 350,000 na sako sana ng bigas ang nabili para maipamigay sa mga nangangailangan na Pilipino. Nasa 10,000 na mga magsasaka at mangingisda na sana ang nabigyan ng 50,000 pesos na subsidy para masuportahan ang masaganang pag-ani at pangingisda. Nasa 12,500 na laptop sana worth 40,000 pesos ang nagagamit ng mga estudyante o kaya mga teacher. Isa itong pagtataksil sa bayan, yung mismong pamimigay ng envelopes na may lamang pera para suhulan ang mga DepEd officials. Ayon na rin sa former DepEd Yusek Mercado na nooy na-designate rin bilang HOP o Head of Procuring Entity. Yes sa impeachment ni VP Sara without age, without honesty sa SALN. Sino po bang maniniwala na wala po siya ni piso na cash on hand o ni isa o sa bank na deposit man lang mula 2019 hanggang 2024? Samantalang naiulat mismo ng AMLAC na ang kanyang kabuuan na accounts ay may 630 covered transactions at 33 suspicious transactions na umaabot sa higit 6 na bilyon. Mr. Speaker, ni isang beses hindi rin po nag-attend sa mga hearings ng Committee of Justice CB. Napakaraming pagkakataon ang naibigay sa kanya para magpakita, mag-present ng evidence, counter-evidence, ngunit pinili ho niyang talikuran hindi lamang ang impeachment proceedings, kundi ang panawagan ng taong bayan para sa pananagutan. Hindi rin ho biro at hindi katanggap-tanggap ang milyon-milyon na nalulustay habang ang mga nanay sa araw-araw hirap na hirap sa pagpabudget dahil sa napakababang kinikita o sa kakulangan ng trabaho at napakataas na presyo ng mga bilihin. Habang napakaraming bata ang nakararanas ng gutom at malnutrisyon. Hindi po ito katanggap-tanggap at kailangan ng pananagutan. Yes sa impeachment dahil hindi kukurap ang Gabriela Women's Party sa korupsyon, sa kasinungalingan at sa kataksilan sa bayan. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Dada Kiram Ismula from Party List Akbayan to explain her.
Representative Dada Kiram Ismula, Akbayan Party List is hereby recognized.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, I rise to explain my vote on the committee report regarding the articles of impeachment against the Vice President. The Constitution reminds us that public office is a public trust. Kahit gaano man kataas ang posisyon, walang mas mataas kaysa sa ating saligang batas. After a careful review of the findings presented by the Committee on Justice, it has been determined that probable cause exists based on the evidence. My yes vote today is the fulfillment of our specific duty in the House of Representatives to initiate this process when the facts demands it. By affirming this report, we ensure that the constitutional process moves forward. It should be noted that the House Committee on Justice has ensured due process to the Vice President numerous times in the hearings. Ang aking boto ay nagbibigay daan upang formal na masimulan ang trial at nagbibigay sa Vice Presidente ng pagkakataon na iharap ang kanyang panig sa Senado. Nanumpa ang Vice Presidente sa preserve and defend the Constitution. Kaya naman, inaasahan namin na igagalang at tutugon ang Vice Presidente sa constitutional na prosesong ito. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Cielo Ricel Lagman from the 1st District of Albay to explain her vote.
Honorable Cielo Cristal Lagman, 1st District of Albay, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As duly elected member of the House of Representatives, I took my oath of office swearing that I would faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of my office, uphold and defend the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, obey the laws of the land, do justice to everyone, and respect the rights of all, commit to serve with integrity, fairness, and compassion, putting public interest above personal gain. Work to promote the welfare, safety, and progress of my constituents, listen to the people from whom my mandate emanates, and uphold the trust that has been given to me. This oath, no less, I expect from my fellow public servants, from the President of the Republic of the Philippines, down to the barangay officials. The finding of probable cause by the House Committee on Justice against Vice President Sara Z. Duterte for culpable violation of the Constitution, bribery, graft and corruption, other high crimes, and betrayal of public trust indubitably derogates from the spirit, the very core of the above-quoted oath of office. Verily, I vote yes to House Resolution number 989, setting forth the articles of impeachment against Vice President Sara Z. Duterte, and I look forward to a fair and judicious impeachment trial in the Senate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Leandro Leviste of the 1st District of Batangas to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Leandro Leviste is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, tinawagan po ako ng nanay ko at sinabihan ako na huwag mang-away, kaya ang aking manifestation ngayong hapon ay para lang sabihin na huwag sanang parusahan ang 63 miyembro ng Kongreso na hindi bumoto para sa impeachment. Ito po ay para sa kapakanan ng mga constituents, mga distrito at sektor ng ating mga kasamahan. At sana, dahil malambot ang puso ng liderato ng Kongreso at ng gobyerno, huwag natin idamay ang mga nanay na nangangailangan ng pang-tuition sa kanilang mga anak, ang mga lola, ang mga lolo na nangangailangan ng medical assistance, ang mga magsasaka na nangangailangan ng mga farm-to-market roads dahil lamang sa boto ng kinatawan ng iilang mga distrito. Para sa aking mga kasamahan dito na hindi bumoto para sa impeachment, sana i-monitor natin na lahat ng mga naibigay sa budget na alokasyon para sa ating mga distrito ay darating at hindi i-delay ang release dahil lamang sa ating mga boto. At para sa lahat ng mga nanonood na personally ay pabor sa impeachment, sana pwede nyo ding iparating sa liderato ng Kongreso at ng ating pamahalaan na kahit kayo ay pabor sa impeachment, hindi dapat idamay ang mga mamamayan sa boto ng bawat isa. Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Paulo Marcoleta of Sige Party List to explain his vote.
Honorable Paulo Henry Marcoleta, party list Sakip, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Esteemed colleagues, I vote no to the committee report recommending the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte. I will not vote in favor of a committee report that is a product of a flawed deliberative process. Let me be clear. This vote is not a vote against accountability. This is a vote for constitutional discipline. Impeachment is the gravest political remedy under our Constitution. It cannot rest on shortcuts, spectacle, or evidence gathered through a process that looks less like a constitutional proceeding and more like a fishing expedition. The vulnerability of this entire process is plain. The committee conducted hearings when both houses of Congress were not in session. That alone raises serious questions on authority, timing, and regularity. Then, instead of remaining with the verified complaints and their attachments, the committee gathered new evidence, expanded the theory of the case, and built allegations beyond what the respondent was originally required to answer. Hindi pwede na magsimula tayo sa isang complaint, tapos habang tumatakbo ang hearing, palalawakin natin ang kaso hanggang maging ibang kaso na ito. Due process is not a technicality. It is the constitutional shield of every Filipino, including those we dislike, those we oppose, and those we fear politically. I am especially troubled by the Anti-Money Laundering Council disclosures. Section 8-A of the amended Anti-Money Laundering Act protects the information received or processed by the Council. If confidential financial intelligence reached this committee through a legally defective route, then we are being asked to rely on fruits of a poisonous tree. Isa pa, kung matibay at malakas ang committee report na ito, bakit kailangan mangako di umano ng pabuya tulad ng pera, dagdag allowances, at release ng projects sa mga boboto ng yes, at mananakot na hindi i-release ang mga projects at baka kakasuhan daw ang mga boboto ng no. Sa lahat ng boboto ng yes, ito daw, reportedly, ang gantipalang kanilang matatanggap. 20 million cash incentives, 5 million additional MOOE, and 200 million additional projects. Kung totoo man ito, sa cash incentive pa lang at additional MOOE, at kung 200 plus ang bumoto ng yes, ay halos 6.3 billion pesos na ang gagastusin para lang iparating sa Senado ang articles of impeachment. At tahimik pa din ang Kamara sa trilyong pisong flood control scam. Tapos galit na galit tayo at nag-iingay pagdating naman sa 125 million at 600 million confidential funds ni VP Sara na wala namang direktang ebidensyang ibinulsa niya ito. Kung buhay lang si General Luna sa kanyang karakter sa pelikula, baka nasigawan kayo. Anong klaseng kahipokrituhan ito? This impeachment process is not really for accountability. Far from it. This is an elimination of a formidable political rival using a whole-of-government approach. Ginagamit ang buong puwersa ng gobyerno, gumugugol ng bilyong-bilyong piso ang pera ng taong bayan para gapitin, alisin sa pwesto ang taong takot na takot kayong maging presidente. Ano ba ang kinakatakot niyo? Ang laki siguro ng kasalanan ninyo sa mamamayang Pilipino. On the Vice President's outburst, of course, public officials should speak with care, but we must be equally careful not to convert political speech, even harsh, angry, or offensive speech, into an impeachable offense without proving intent, operational reality, and constitutional gravity. To end my speech, Mr. Speaker, hindi sapat ang sinabi na Vice President Sara para mapawalang bisa ang pagkakuha niya ng pinakamalaking boto sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas. Tatanggalin natin ang mandato mula sa 32,208,417 na sambay ng Pilipino na nagtiwala at patuloy na nagtitiwala kay Vice President Sara. For these reasons, Mr. Speaker, I vote no. Impeachment must be strong enough to survive the Senate, the courts, and our history. This one is not. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Robert Nazal of PH Party List to explain his vote.
Honorable Robert Nasal, BH Party List is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, good afternoon. I rise to explain my vote of no to the articles of impeachment. This is not a vote against accountability, nor is it a vote for any personality. This is a vote for the Constitution, for due process, and for the principle that impeachment must never become a political weapon. Impeachment is the gravest constitutional remedy against an elected official. Precisely because it is grave, it must be founded on credible evidence and a fair process. Hindi sapat ang duda, haka-haka o ingay lamang. The complaints must stand or fall on their own allegations and supporting documents. Yet, several affidavits, reports, and alleged findings presented during the hearings, including AMLC reports, alleged NBI findings, and even the COA decision itself, were not attached to the original complaints. Worse, it appears that even evidence was later obtained to cure deficiencies in the complaints. That is a dangerous precedent. Hindi pwedeng magsampa muna ng impeachment batay sa bare allegations, tapos saka pa lamang hahanap ng ebidensya pagkatapos. That is not due process. Tulad nga ng sinabi ni Congressman Marcoleta, that is a fishing expedition. On the confidential funds issue, even Attorney Gloria Camora of the Commission on Audit confirmed during the hearings that there were no findings of misuse under the COA decision being cited. She likewise confirmed that the release of the confidential funds passed through proper approvals, including the Office of the President and the DBM. More importantly, the COA decision is not yet final. A notice of disallowance is an audit action. It is not automatically corruption. It is not automatically theft. It is not automatically an impeachable offense. Dito nga sa sariling bakuran natin, liquidation by certification lang ang ginagawa natin. Pero sigurado ako na tayo ang unang magsasabi na hindi ibig sabihin na may corruption doon. On the AMLC reports, we must also be careful not to mischaracterize covert and suspicious transactions as automatic proof of wrongdoing. Suspicion is not proof, allegation is not conviction. In fact, even the AMLC information sharing report itself reportedly refers to a PPI letter explaining that a supposed 2 billion transaction was actually the result of a system error, and that the real amount involved was only around 2 million pesos. Yet, this annex was allegedly not included in the materials furnished to the members of the House. At the very least, it raises serious questions regarding the completeness, fairness, and integrity of the evidence being presented against the Vice President. The same principle applies to the alleged SAL-N issues. A discrepancy relating to a SAL-N does not automatically amount to an impeachable offense. Our laws allow amendments and corrections to SAL-Ns when necessary. Kailangan pa rin ng malinaw at matibay na ebidensya ng sinadyang pagtatago o panlilinlang, which, to my mind, has not been sufficiently established in this case against the Vice President. On the alleged threats, the Vice President's designated survivor remark made in jest was clearly made in reference to the constitutional role of the Vice President to assume the presidency in case of death, resignation, removal, or incapacity of the President. The issue today is not whether one supports or opposes Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte. The deeper question is whether this House will defend the integrity of impeachment itself? Will we respect the line between the House initiation and Senate trial? Will we choose law over noise, evidence over accusation, and fairness over expediency? Let it not be said that at this crucial time in our democracy, this House lowered the constitutional standard because the politics of the hour demanded it. Huwag nating hayaang sabihin ng kasaysayan na ginamit natin ang pinakamabigat na kapangyarihan ng Kongreso hindi para sa katarungan, kundi para sa politika. History will judge this House not only by the vote we casted today, but by whether we had the courage to defend due process when it mattered most. Mr. Speaker, alam naman nating lahat na ang bawat boto natin dito ay may kaakibat na consequences. Maaring may political cost. Maaring may personal cost. Ngunit darating ang panahon na ang mas mahalaga ay kung nanaig ba ang prinsipyo, integridad at paninindigan sa tama. Sapagkat ito ang mga bagay na dapat nating ipamana sa susunod na henerasyon. Darating ang panahon na huhusgahan din tayo ng mga kabataan. Kung ipinaglaban ba natin ang tama kahit mahirap, sana pagdating ng araw, titingalain tayo ng bagong henerasyon. Hindi dahil sumabay tayo sa agos ng politika, kundi dahil pinili nating manindigan para sa konstitusyon, sa due process at sa tama.
Representative Nasal, please wrap up.
Almost done, sir. God sees everything we do as human beings. At sa huli, higit sa politika, higit sa ingay, higit sa anumang pressure, mananagot pa rin tayo sa mas mataas na pamantayan at ng katotohanan at konsensya. As Abraham Lincoln once said, "My concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right." For that reason, I vote no to procedural overreach. I vote no to incomplete and selective evidence. I vote no to political weaponization of the impeachment process. At higit sa lahat, for the Constitution, for due process, and for the integrity of this House, I vote no to the adoption of Committee Report number 261 and the Articles of Impeachment.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Antonino B. Roman III of the 1st District of Bataan to explain his vote.
Honorable Antonino Roman III, 1st District of Bataan, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, bumoto akong pabor sa impeachment batay sa mga ebidensyang inilahad ng complainant na nananatiling hindi napabulaanan at sapat upang magbigay ng finding of probable cause. Inaasahan ng sambayan ng Pilipino ang isang patas na paglilitis sa Senado kung saan magkakaroon ng pagkakataon si Vice President Sara Duterte na sagutin ang mga isyong ibinapatol laban sa kanya. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Elijah R. San Fernando of Party List Kamanggagawa to explain his vote.
Honorable Elijah San Fernando Kamanggagawa, Party List, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, mga kasama, simplihan lang po natin. Meron bang sapat na batayan ang mga alegasyong ipinupukol sa Vice Presidente? Meron. Is the process to determine probable cause polluted, politically motivated, or questionable? Yes. Pero sa gitna ng mga agam-agam sa kredibilidad ng naging proseso, nananatili pa rin bang accountable ang Vice Presidente bilang mataas na opisyal ng ating bayan? Yes. Then let us hold the Vice President accountable. Kailangang masagot ng Vice Presidente ang lahat ng mga aligasyong ipinupukol sa kanya. Ang trial ang magbibigay ng oportunidad upang siya'y makapagpaliwanag at hayaang malitis upang malaman ng lahat kung siya ba ay may pananagutan o dapat na mapawalang sala. Ito lang po ang tanging paraan, Mr. Speaker. Sa parehas na dahilan, Hindi ligtas ang institusyon at gobyernong ito. Let us also hold those who cast the stone accountable. Hindi bulag at mangmang ang mga manggagawa. Hindi nawawala sa isip ng marami ang trilyong pisong kinurakot sa ghost flood control projects. Ang mga mali-maletang pera na nawala sa korupsyon sa ilalim ng administrasyon. Kaya ang usapin ng accountability ay sumasaklaw rin sa institusyong ito, maging kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Hindi pwedeng magmalinis ang administrasyon. Malinaw sa isip ng marami, ang magnanakaw ay galit sa kapwa magnanakaw. Kaya't alam din ng marami ang mga pagmamaniobra para lang magtagumpay ang impeachment vote ngayong araw. Mr. Speaker, mga kasama, sawa na po ang mga manggagawa at ordinaryong Pilipino sa ganitong bangayan ng mga politiko na ginagamit ang buong makinarya ng gobyerno upang ipatumba ang kanilang mga kalaban sa politika. Lumang tuktugin na po ito, Mr. Speaker, mula sa impeachment complaints kay PBBM at ngayon kay Vice President Sara, ang pag-alis kay Supreme Court Justices Corona at Sereno, at ang pagpapakulong sa mga taong tinitignan ng kasalukuyan at mga nagdaang rehimen bilang kalaban. Sa mga manggagawa at ordinaryong Pilipinong nanonood, malinaw ang record ng gobyernong ito. Sa gitna ng krisis sa ekonomiya na pinagdadaanan natin na lubhang nakakaapekto sa buhay ng mga manggagawa at ordinaryong Pilipino, walang kahit isang makabuluhang batas o panukala ang naisabatas tungkol sa mga manggagawa. Ang impeachment complaint laban kay PBBM isinalang dito sa plenaryo. Ang impeachment complaint laban kay VP Sara isinalang dito sa plenaryo. Samantala, ang House Bill number 8081, National Minimum Wage Bill, na magbubuwag ng provincial rate na may suporta na ng 200 mambabatas ay nakatenga pa rin. Ang taas sahod ay nakatenga pa rin. Kaya sa ngalan ng mga manggagawa at ordinaryong Pilipinong kinakatawan ng kamanggagawa, kami po ay tumitindig para sa pananagutan. At ang pananagutang ito ay marapat lamang na sumaklaw sa Vice Presidente, sa Pangulo, at sa lahat ng opisyal ng gobyerno. Kakabit ang paninindigang ito, Mr. Speaker, mga kasama. Matapang naming hinahamon ang bulwagang ito. Isa publiko natin ang ating mga salin, pumirma tayong lahat ng bank secrecy waiver at hayaan nating ilagay ang ating mga sarili sa pagsisiyasat ng publiko. Ito po ang hamon ng mga manggagawa at ordinaryong Pilipino sa bulwagang ito. Pangungunahan ng kinatawang ito ang hamon na nabanggit sa bulwagang ito. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker. Mabuhay ang mga manggagawa at ordinaryong Pilipino.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Jesus Bong Suntay of the 4th District, Quezon City, to explain his vote.
Honorable Jesus Bong Suntay, 4th District, Quezon City, is hereby recognized. You have 3 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, we debate this impeachment at a time when Filipino people are facing a crisis far larger than the political conflict inside this chamber. The world is being shaken by war, energy disruption, and commodity shocks. Energy prices are projected to surge 24% this year because of the Middle East war, with commodity prices forecast to rise by 16% and inflationary pressures expected to hit us the hardest. For the Filipino family, these numbers mean higher fuel prices, higher transport costs, higher food prices, and even shrinking household budget. Inflation has already surged to 7.2% in April 2026. And yet, in the middle of this economic storm, Congress is being asked to devote its gravest constitutional power to an impeachment case built on complaints that remain constitutionally infirm, procedurally defective, and factually incomplete. Let us be clear, not impeaching the Vice President does not mean she can no longer be held accountable. Hindi po totoo na kapag hindi tinuloy ang impeachment, wala nang kaso. If there is graft, file graft case. If there is malversation, file a malversation case. If there is unexplained wealth, file the proper case before the proper court. The Vice President is not absolutely immune from suit under the Constitution. And once she is no longer Vice President, she becomes fully subject to ordinary criminal and civil processes without the political complications of an impeachment. Accountability is never lost. Accountability is not achieved through impeachment alone. Accountability must serve justice and not political convenience. It must be fair, constitutional, and consistent. If impeachment is to be used to remove a sitting Vice President, then the House must apply the highest standard, not the lowest. We must demand ultimate facts, competent evidence, personal participation, and clear acts constituting the impeachable offenses. That is why the harder question must be asked. With barely 2 years left in her term, what good will the impeachment do for our country? Will it lower prices? Will it solve the energy crisis? Will it return stolen public funds? Will it fix flood control corruption? Or will it only deepen division in our already divided nation and turn the national agenda into another prolonged political war? For this reason, impeachment is lost when the motives behind it become suspect. Justice is not achieved when accountability becomes only a consolation prize for a political conflict. Let us not pretend that what we are witnessing is purely a principled constitutional process. The public sees the bitter conflict between former allies. They see a struggle for political supremacy. They see the risk that the instrumentalities of government is being used to destroy political opponents. Committee report number 261 itself shows the weakness of this process. The Committee on Justice did not merely evaluate the complaints, it built the case after the complaints were filed. Hindi impeachment screening ang ginawa ng komite. Case building ang ginawa. An impeachment complaint must stand on its own from the beginning. It must contain ultimate facts, it must allege acts constituting impeachable offenses, it must show personal participation and legal nexus. Hindi pwedeng kulang ang reklamo tapos ang komite ang maghahanap ng ebidensya sa pamamagitan ng subina, AMLA record, BIR record, SEC record, NBI files, at testimony ng witness na inilabas pa sa bilangguan para lang punuan ang kakulangan. The committee received testimony and documents and limited meaningful testing. Kung gagamitin ang ebidensya para iakyat ang impeachment, dapat pinapayagan din subukan ang credibility, authenticity, personal knowledge, and relevance. The evidentiary record is not merely weak, it is compromised. The committee took the word of Ramil Madriaga, a convicted criminal, as though it was gospel truth. In any fair proceeding, the testimony would have been received with extreme caution, subjected to searching scrutiny and corroborated by independent evidence. Instead, it was used as a pillar for probable cause. The committee received most from a government official appointed only a week before appearing in front of the committee on matters involving documents protected by law that should have triggered restraint, not haste. It should have demanded safeguard, not political momentum. Most troubling, the executive director of the Anti-Money Laundering Council presented AMLAC-related figures but did not disclose a material qualification in the report. That BPI had requested correction of certain reported transactions because of bank system issues. The omission matters because it affected the public understanding and supposed billions attributed to Attorney Maneses Carpio and by extension the unexplained wealth narrative, ang layo-layo ng 2.33 billion sa 2.11 million sa transaction record. Pero hindi ito binanggit sa komite kahit nasa AMLA report mismo. If this is the evidentiary foundation of impeachment, then the foundation is cracked. The committee framed 19 years of transactions as if they were proof of wealth. That is misleading. Ang AMLA report ay daloy ng perang nagpapakita ng aggregate inflow at outflow ng lahat ng financial transaction na pumapasok at lumalabas sa bank account ng depositor, lalo na kapag nagkakahalaga ng higit sa 500,000 piso. Ang salin ay larawan ng ari-arian, both personal and real, on a specific date. Hindi pwedeng ibangga ang dalawa para gumawa ng artificial discrepancy dahil hindi talaga magtutugma. On bribery, report relied on envelopes, reimbursement, and alleged monetary gifts to DepEd officials. But bribery has elements. Nasaan ang kapalit? Nasaan ang procurement act? Nasaan ang official action na binili? On the threat-related charges, the committee relied on public statements, video clips, transcripts, NBI records, and press remarks, but walang nahanap o naipresentang hired gun. Public statements, even offensive or reckless ones, do not automatically constitute sedition. Insurrection, conspiracy, or assassination. The law still requires overt act, intent, and factual nexus to unlawful action. Hindi lahat ng masamang salita ay krimen, lalo na kung wala namang overt act. Hindi lahat ng galit ay sedition at hindi lahat ng political rhetoric ay insurrection. On confidential funds, the committee relied on co-observation, notices of disallowance, and alleged liquidation irregularities. These are serious matters, but they do not automatically become malversation, plunder, graft, or impeachable offenses. A COA finding is not a conviction. An audit observation is not proof of criminal intent. A notice of disallowance is not by itself proof that the Vice President stole public funds. The law requires more unlawful. The law requires more unlawful appropriation, personal participation, intent, and direct attribution to the respondent. Yan ang dapat ipinakita.
Representative Suntay, please wrap up.
Ang problema ng committee report number 261 ay hindi lamang pagkakulang ng ebidensya. Ang mas mabigat na problema ay ang paraan ng pagbuo ng ebidensya. The committee began with a constitutionally weak complaint, expanded the record through broad subpoenas, limited meaningful testing, and treated the resulting record as if it cured the original defect. Impeachment must meet higher constitutional standards, Mr. Speaker, because it seeks to overturn an electoral mandate. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. received 31,629,783 votes. Vice President Sara Duterte received 32,208,417 votes. Those votes do not place anyone above accountability, but they demand restraint, seriousness, and fairness before Congress attempts to remove an elected national official. It was for this reason that I voted no to the impeachment complaint filed against President Marcos, and it is for the same reason that I oppose the impeachment complaint against the Vice President. Vox Populi, Vox Dei. The voice of the people is the voice of God. It is not absolute in law, but it is sacred in democracy. Boses ito ng manggagawa, nakulang sa sahod, pasyenteng naghihintay ng tulong, commuter, magsasaka, mangingisda, magulang at kabataang pagod na sa gobyernong laging huli sa krisis. Boses ng mga Pilipinong sawa na sa politika at naghahangad lamang ng kasaganahan at pagbabago. For this reason, I cannot support the transmission of the articles of impeachment to the Senate. The country needs accountability, yes, but accountability that is fair, consistent, and constitutional. The country needs action on corruption, yes, but action that applies to all, not only to one political target. The country needs justice, yes, but justice that does not confuse impeachment with the only path to accountability. For fidelity to due process, for consistency with our own rules, and for respect for the sovereign mandate of the Filipino people, I vote no.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the Honorable Toby Chanco from the Lone District of Navotas City for the explanation of his vote.
Honorable Tobias Toby Tiangco, Lone District, Navotas is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, ang hirap bumoto ng yes dahil ang sama ng timing nitong impeachment na ito. Nataon kung kailan hirap ang buhay ng ating mga kababayan dulot ng krisis sa gitnang silangan. at mauna pa itong impeachment kaysa pagpasa natin ng batas na makakatulong sa kanila sa panahong ito. Hirap po sila sa presyo ng bilihin. Ang impeachment na ito ay hindi makakatulong na maibsan ang kanilang kahirapan. Ngunit sa ilalim ng ating saligang batas ay may itinakdang numero ng araw para ito ay maresolba sa House of Representatives. Ang hirap bumoto ng yes dahil walang moral authority ang House dahil sa laki ng corruption issue sa mga dating liderato ng House of Representatives sa akusasyon ng mali-malitang ninakaw nila at kanilang mga kasabwat. At ngayon ay humihingi ng accountability sa Vice President para sa mas maliit na halaga. Ngunit sa ilalim ng ating saligang batas, ang responsibilidad ng pag-initiate ng impeachment at pagdesisyon ng probable cause ay eksklusibong kapangyarihan ng House of Representatives nang walang anumang kondisyon. May mga sinusunod tayong mga batas at ang accountability ay dapat para sa lahat ng public officials at walang pinipili. Kahit di hamak na mas malaki ang kontrobersya sa korupsyon na kinasasangkutan ng dating liderato ng House of Representatives at hanggang ngayon ay wala pang nakukulong at mas maliit ang pinag-uusapang halaga sa kay Vice President Sara Duterte ay hindi pwedeng maging dahilan na unahin muna ang mas malaki at huwag munang pag-usapan ang mas maliit na halaga. May mga tatong din sa naging proseso at sa pagkalap ng ebidensya. Gayunpaman, lumitaw ang issue ng SALN, partikular sa hindi pagdedeklara ng cash on hand, na nananatiling kailangang malinawan at ipagpaliwanag sa tamang forum. Dahil nagdesisyon ang kampo ng Vice Presidente Sara Duterte na hindi dumalo dito sa House of Representatives, hindi nagkaroon ng pagkakataon na linawin ito. Ang pagboto ng yes ay hindi paghusga ng pagkakasala. Ito ang tanging naiiwan na paraan para mabigyan ng formal at maayos na venue sa Senado upang maipaliwanag ang panig at mailabas ang buong katotohanan sa mga issue ng SALN na karugtong sa mga issue ng AMLAC at bank accounts. Ito ay pagkakataon para ipaliwanag niya on record at sa loob ng proseso ang kanyang panig at maipagtanggol ang kanyang sarili. Ito ang pinakaresponsableng hakbang sa puntong ito. Kasama ng pagboto ng yes ay may dalawa akong kahilingan. Una, sa liderato ng House of Representatives na madaliin na ang pagpasa ng batas na makakatulong sa ating mga kababayan na naghihirap sa panahong ito. Pangalawa, magalang akong nananawagan sa mga ahensya na may responsibilidad na panagutin ang mga big fish at ang mastermind ng pinakamalaking korupsyon sa kasaysayan ng ating bansa. Ako ay buong pusong naniniwala sa kanilang integridad. At alam kong pinagbubutihan nila ang makapag-file ng malakas na kaso na hindi madidismiss sa korte. Ngunit medyo naiinip na po ang ating mga kababayan. Sana po ay may paraan na mas mapabilis ang pag-usad ng mga kaso para ipakitang walang double standard sa accountability. Ipakitang hindi pinoproteksyonan ang kakapi para hindi po isipin ng taong bayan na namimili lang ng kalaban sa politika. Maraming salamat.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the Honorable Antonio Tino of Party List ACT Teachers for the explanation of his vote.
Honorable Antonio Tino, Party List ACT Teacher, is hereby recognized.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Kapani-paniwala bang may nangyaring paglabag At malamang ba na ginawa ito ng Vice Presidente? Yan ang ibig sabihin ng probable cause at yan ang sinikap nating alamin dito sa Kongreso. May sapat na batayan ba para ma-impeach ang Vice President for betrayal of public trust, graft and corruption, and other high crimes? Ang sagot, yes. May sapat na batayan para sabihing winaldas niya ng labag sa konstitusyon, batas at alituntunin ang 612.5 million na confidential funds na pinagkatiwala sa Office of the Vice President at sa Department of Education. Inutos niya na ipaubaya sa mga hindi autorisadong individual, sina Colonel Lachica at Colonel Nolasco, ang aktwal na paggastos sa buong confidential funds ng kanyang dalawang opisina. Sa makatwid, hindi maituturing na totoo ang mga accomplishment report at resibo na sinabmit nila sa COA. Ito mismo ang dahilan kung bakit pinasasaoli ng COA through notice of disallowance ang ibababa sa 448 million na confidential funds. Pangalawa, may sapat na batayan para sabihing merong undeclared wealth ang Vice Presidente. Ayon sa Anti-Money Laundering Council, mula 2006 hanggang 2022, merong 6.7 billion na total na lumabas at pumasok sa mga bank accounts ng Vice Presidente. 4.4 billion ang pumasok at 1.5 billion ang natalang lumabas sa mga covered transactions. Covered and suspicious transactions. Samantala, una, hindi nagdeklara ng cash in hand o in bank sa kanyang SALN mula 2019 hanggang 2024 ang Vice Presidente. Pangalawa, 88.5 million lamang ang pinakamataas na net worth na dineklara ng Vice Presidente noong 2024. At pangatlo, hindi makasasapat ang deklaradong sweldo at mga negosyo ng Vice Presidente at kanyang asawa upang ipaliwanag ang kanilang bilyones na tinanganang kayamanan. Kung gayon, ang undeclared wealth niya ay unexplained wealth. Ayon sa batas, maaaring ituring ang bilyones na ito bilang ill-gotten wealth. 6.7 billion na dumaan sa kanyang mga account versus 88.5 million sa SALN. Ibig sabihin, mukhang maraming maleta ang Vice Presidente na kailangan niyang ipaliwanag. 6.7 billion pesos. Hindi lang di wow, kundi wow, mali. Kaugnay sa issue ng death threat at pagkontrata ng assassination, the thing speaks for itself. Huling-huli ang Vice Presidente sa sarili niyang pananalita. Tatak Duterte ang pagpatay ng walang due process. Kaya nga nasa ICC ang amang si Rodrigo Duterte ngayon. Ang anak, ganun na lamang kung mag-utos ng pagkitil sa buhay ng iba. Tunay nga naman, like father, like daughter. Sa pagkakataong ito, dapat tingidiin ang pagkondena sa paggamit ng politika ng pananakot, pagbanta at paghihiganti sa layuning hadlangan ang pagpapanagot sa pamamagitan ng impeachment. Bilang pangwakas, yes, ang boto ng kinatawang ito by probable cause na may ginawang impeachable offenses ang Vice President. Kay Vice President Sara Duterte, wala ka ng kawala. Dumating na ang araw ng pagpapanagot. Sa Senado ka na magpaliwanag. Maraming salamat.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the Honorable Christine Alexi B. Tutor from the 3rd District of Bohol for the explanation of her vote.
Honorable Christine Alexi Tutor, 3rd District Bohol is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, my vote of no reflects the voice of my people in the 3rd District of Bohol, which includes 436 barangays and 19 municipalities, making it the largest district in Bohol. As their representative, I am responding to their call that there are other urgent priorities to address during this time of crisis. I have thoroughly consulted with our people, and this decision represents the overwhelming majority in my district. Ining akong boto mo'y tinuod nga pagpamalandong sa kabubuton sa atong mga katawhan sa tersero distrito. By standing by this decision, I remain committed to protecting our democratic institutions while ensuring that the government's efforts are focused on issues that truly matter to the lives of our people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we request to acknowledge Representative Julius Cesar J. Vergara of 3rd District Nueva Ecija to explain his vote.
Honorable Julius Cesar Vergara, 3rd District Nueva Ecija is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, ako po'y tumatayo ngayon upang ipalawanag ang aking botong no. Bagamat nirirespeto ko ang desisyon ng komite, hustisya at ang proseso nito bilang paraan para mapanatili ang integridad ng ating mga institusyon at mga lingkod bayan. Napunta ako sa no na boto matapos ng mabigat na pag-iisip. Nakita ko na mas dapat unahin ngayon ang mga agarang problema ng ating mga kababayan sa araw-araw. Ang kapakanan ng taong bayan ay dapat unahin sa lahat. Napakaraming problema ng Pilipinas na mas mangingibabaw gaya ng food security at pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin. Noong isang araw lang, nakita ko sa dyaryo, ang ating national debt ay 18.5 trillion, hindi dahil sa ating Pangulo, kundi sa rate of exchange na tumaas ng tumaas ng tumaas. Because we are an importing nation. We need the dollars. We need, wala tayong food security hanggang sa maliit na bilihin ay inaangkat pa natin. Sa aking pananaw, ang usaping ito ay hindi makabuluhang paggamit ng oras at atensyon at higit sa lahat, hindi makakabuti sa taong bayan. Ihahayag ito at magiging pangunahing usapin sa lahat ng pahayagan, pati na sa social media, na magdudulot ng iba't ibang opinyon mula sa ating mga kababayan. Hindi masasagot ng impeachment ang mga mas mahalaga na pangangailangan ng higit na nakakaraming Pilipino tulad ng gutom, pagpila na nakikita ko sa aming pangatlong distrito ng Nueva Ecija para lamang bumili ng 20 pesos na bigas sa FTI at NFA. Hindi nito maibsan ang hirap ng buhay at pagtaas ng presyo ng pangunahing bilihin. Suporta sa magsasaka na umaasa sa mga pataba na inaangkat lahat mula sa iba't ibang bansa. At iba pang tulong mula sa gobyerno para sa seguridad at kapakanan ng bawat Pilipino. Ako'y nalungkot at nalulungkot pagka merong mga tahasang nagsasalita ng mga batang kong kasama na sinasabi nila na tayo'y binili. Hindi tayo binili. Tayo ay collegial body. Tayo ay nagdesisyon sa ating sarili. Walang pera na namagitan sa ating mga boto. Dapat maintindihan ng bawat isa iyon. Yung mga salitang binitawan ng aking mga kasama na panira sa ating institusyon na ito, sumasagot lamang doon nung ako'y initiate. When I was initiated, tinanong ako, ano ba ang inaasahan mo at ikaw ay naging kongresista? Ang salita ko po ay simple. Titingnan ko lamang po kung titino pa yung ating bansa. Sabi nga, nung pinatay at pinaslang na bayani natin, si General Antonio Luna, na pinaslang sa aming lugar sa Cabanatuan City, Nueva Ecija. Bayan o sarili? Yon ang pinakamalaking question. Sana yung mga susunod na henerasyon na magsasalita rito at magpagtitiwalaan ng taong bayan, unahin naman sana ang bayan bago ang sarili. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker, for the time. Thank you. God bless.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to recognize Representative Isidro T. Ungab of 3rd District, Davao City, to explain his vote.
Honorable Isidro Ungab, 3rd District, Davao City, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have been a congressman since 2007, and this is the first time that I experience a time limit for interpellation to only 3 minutes. Pareho lang sa explanation of vote. Yet, I would like to thank the Speaker for giving me a short extension. Pero sa totoo lang, Mr. Speaker, I have more than 100 pages of questions for interpellation. 2 page lang yung nabasa ko. But,
don't worry, I'm being generous to you today.
Your Honor, let me read my explanation of no vote. I voted no, not to excuse anyone from accountability, but to defend the integrity of impeachment and the fairness of our own process. Let me briefly explain. First, the case we are sending to the Senate is not the same case the Vice President was asked to answer. On March 16, she filed her consolidated verified answer to the Saballa and Cabrera complaints after the committee had already declared them sufficient in form, substance, and grounds. Only after that did the committee bring in a new supplemental affidavit from Mr. Madriaga, expanded testimony from Antonio Trillanes, detailed AMLC figures running into billions, and NBI DOJ cyber and documentary evidence. All of those April additions are now woven into a single consolidated set of articles, but the respondent was never formally invited to amend her answer to address that expanded case. We strengthened and reshaped the charges, yet we never reopened the door for her to answer them. Second, 2 verified complaints have effectively been turned into something like a new complaint. The Constitution says impeachment must be initiated by a verified complaint. Sabalya and Cabrera did that. They allege misuse of confidential funds, bribery, unexplained wealth, and destabilization. But the consolidated articles go further. They merge and they relabel the grounds into broad patterns of abuse, import specifics, Madriaga's supplemental affidavit, Trillanes annexes, AMLC transaction patterns, and NBI transcripts, and then present a new unified narrative of sustained corruption and command responsibility. On paper, this House still invokes Sabalya and Cabrera, but in substance, we have a different post-April case. The Vice President has never been asked on the pleadings to admit or deny that consolidated, expanded version. For me, that combination, changing the case after the answer turning into two complaints into a new consolidated narrative, and doing so on a selective evidentiary base, creates a serious risk of denial of due process and grave abuse of discretion by this House. I believe that if this impeachment is challenged before the Supreme Court, these very defects will be the center of the arguments against us. I repeat, my no vote is not a judgment on guilt or innocence. It is a judgment that this particular committee report and resolution do not meet the constitutional standard of fairness and notice that impeachment demands. We could have required the committee to confine itself more strictly to the verified complaints and to give the respondent a formal chance to answer the consolidated articles before we voted. We chose not to. For those reasons, and out of respect for the Constitution and for the long-term credibility of impeachment as an instrument of accountability, I vote no, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we'd like to acknowledge Representative Audrey K. T. Zubiri of 3rd District Bukidnon to explain her vote.
Honorable Audrey K. Zubiri, 3rd District, Bukidnon, is hereby recognized.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Speaker. I chose to abstain from voting so as not to prejudice or preempt the independent judgment of my husband, Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri, who will be serving as a senator judge in the impeachment court. Thank you very much.
Majority Leader. But before we continue, the Chair would like to manifest that I was informed by the Secretariat of a correction in the result of the nominal voting on the House Resolution number 989 that the body earlier adopted. The correct result is as follows. Affirmative 257 instead of 255. Negative 25 instead of 26. And abstention remains at 9. In view thereof, let the records reflect the said result. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to endorse to the Senate the resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment together with all the annexes pursuant to the rules of House on impeachment proceedings. Further, I further move that the Secretary General be directed to prepare and transmit the same to the Senate for appropriate action in accordance with the Constitution and the rules of the House.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. The motion is approved. The resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment together with all annexes is hereby endorsed to the Senate.
Mr. Speaker, as soon as the articles of impeachment are transmitted, I further move to furnish the respondent, the complainants, and the counsels copies of the committee report and the resolution setting forth the articles of impeachment, including its annexes.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Secretary General is so directed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend session until tomorrow, May 12, 2026 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
The session is suspended until tomorrow, May 12, 2026 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wait, puntahan natin ngayon yung Senate. Tuloy natin sa Senate, guys, ha? Kasi kanina ko pa nakikita yung mga comment nyo, eh. Game.
Senator Joel Villanueva be made an acting majority floor leader.
Uy, pinalta na nga.
Objection.
Wait.
There being none, the motion is approved.
Bullshit! This is, alam nyo mga kababayan, sunod-sunod ang bullshit dito sa Senado, ha? Ulitin natin to. From the top. Ulitin natin to from the top.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Senator Alan Cayetano is recognized.
Mr. President. First and foremost, I'd like to